Why You Are Who You Are by Mark Leary and The Great Courses. Welcome to my channel. My name is Samuel and I want to make self-growth normal. If you want to make self-growth normal, because I've never met someone who doesn't want to make self-growth normal, then make sure to smash that like button. Then before I take a plunge into this review, I want to briefly express the importance of focusing on what matters. If you don't want to listen to my tangent here, you can skip to the time in this video where it says around my breast area at this very moment. So I've put out a decent average of 4 books a week every week for the last 5 months. But last week, I didn't put any out. And the reason why is I got a new job in sales, but I've been driving 800 miles a week. Practicing, drilling, rehearsing, hooks, pitches, and closes like my hero, Grant Cardone, suggests all salespeople do. My older brother works there. Everyone says we are robots. We are very systematic about everything. He told me that with what I'm doing with this job, I'm doing so well, at least for a trainee. And it's because I'm so obsessively scared of not being the best that the fear is pushing me. Because of the learning curve, most of the practice with my approach will have to be done in my free time up front. Up front. Keywords, priorities up front. This will have a quicker return on more investment than these books. I figure any time off needed from the reviews will suffice if I am trying to make... I can definitely save enough, but I can't save more than enough if I can't make more than enough to sustain the apartment life I have been talking about for the last almost a year. But the two hustles support each other in terms of quality, quantity, and spirit. So it'll need to happen. And for anyone who's watching this like, Sam, why are you talking about all this? No one else is worried about your current life situation. I'm saying this because I love and appreciate my viewers. So 1, if you, unlike most people, have up to 5 super important prioritized things that take up just about all of your time awake, the advice here is to make sure that one of them is bringing in enough money for you to at least sustain the time that you spend with or in or doing all the others. So if one of them is a long-term project like a YouTube channel and another one is more consistent but also performance-based income like commission versus hourly rate sales, then invest the time you need to until you begin to almost habitually exceed the financial results of what you had beforehand or are still struggling with. And 2, if you do not have up to 5 super important prioritized things, areas of your life that take up just about all of your time awake, oh my gosh, you are missing out. Write them down right now and get yourself together so we can all get ourselves together. And let's just do this review. This book is comprised of 24 different lectures on personality, and it's weird because there's a section of the book I just reviewed called The Untethered Soul by Michael A. Singer about how who you are is just like an illusion. But Grant Cardone, I've been swimming in that dude's Kool-Aid. By Kool-Aid, I mean information. Nothing else. His book, Sell or Be Sold. Oh my gosh, I'm probably gonna review that pretty soon. He likes to say that conflicting advice that all these teachers and mentors like to give us is probably one of the biggest problems in our, super entrepreneurial, everyone's gonna make so much money on the internet era, or the information age, if you will. Now, admittedly, the more nonfiction books, with that said, that I review, the more I try to keep myself in check in terms of how I'm organizing and applying all the knowledge that I'm taking in. That, and more, probably just as, if not more importantly, all of the people who view my videos. Because if you're being pulled in a bunch of directions and you can't control yourself as to which ones matter the most to you, in my experience, it can cause some serious damage and waste a lot of precious time and energy. In this review, I'm going to talk about some of the lectures that stood out to me and why. Lecture 2, for example, the one about personality traits. They're not 100% like most concepts in this book. The author will stress that no one is 100% anything. It's not black and white. There are plenty of gray areas. That and the explanations of the Ocean test versus Myers-Briggs. These are different personality tests for anyone who is what is all this American this weird stuff like oceans test. What does that have to do with personality? But Myers-Briggs has repeatedly shown to not be that effective. So if you're on Tinder and you keep seeing on profiles, oh, I'm INFJ, I'm ITP2. When I was single, I loved swiping left on those profiles. He also talks about extroversion and neuroticism, the two traits from the ocean. The ocean is like 5 different personality factors. And in lecture 3, he talks about the other 3 of them. Openness, agreeableness, and I love this one so much. Sometimes I feel like I'm so much more this one than any of the other 4. Conscientiousness. Lecture 4 is about motives underlying behavior, like mainly power, achievement, and time. And this one stood out to me because it just, I don't know, it kind of reminded me of me. It talks a lot about type A people and like how they would react to particular situations and like what their priorities are. Lecture 6 is about emotionality, which I didn't know was a word, affectivity or affectivity. Your tendency to feel a particular emotion. Now there is positive affectivity and negative affectivity, and people with positive affectivity, surprise, have habits that the author talks about that people with negative affectivity can learn from and use in order to live better lives for themselves. But something that stood out to me about this book in general is, to me, there are some of it's one of those like brain farts where you have like no idea. It's like trails of personality exploration, if you will, for a great lack of better wording. By that, I mean there are like multi-lecture strings that move across large facets of what personality is, and its history and all this other stuff. Like for example, lectures 8 to 10, lecture 8 is where things get a little bit more multi-dimensional. This is where the author talks about how personality ties into values and moral character. Lecture 9 is about how our beliefs play a role in our personal characteristics, which slides us into lecture 10, about the bigger, more broad beliefs that cause us to behave in the ways we do socially. Lecture 12 talks about different characteristics that relate to the quality and quantity, I guess, of relationship maintenance, like someone's degree of how Machiavellian they are, or attachment style, as we talked about in the review of Attached. For anyone who didn't see my review of Attached, I'll put it this way. That book was just a lot of things. Lecture 13 is about smashing that like button if you haven't already, for the YouTube algorithm and ranking and all these other things, and I really appreciate it because so much work goes into making these videos. You'd be surprised. A lot of work really goes into making these videos. Like stability versus change of personality throughout life. And this topic in particular has always fascinated me because I always tried to make my personality change more and more over the years. In terms of quality, I never like to feel like I'm not somehow growing or learning every day. For example, when I was in 12th grade, myself and a couple friends, we came up with this theory. We called it the color personality theory, where your personality can classify as 2 of the 7 colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, and pink. And everyone has a main color, like what behaviors are on the inside, the underlying ones that again like drive what you do and how you do it. It's just like the why. And you see more, that's the stuff that you see a lot more of the more you get to know a person, is their main color. Then they have the secondary color, the second one. It wouldn't be the third or the fourth. I mean, you only have 2 colors. And the secondary color is like what behaviors protect and filter out the behaviors of the main color in order to interact with the world in ways that a person sees fit. And one of the main questions people would throw out that theory is, since people change, can their colors change over time as well? The way the author approached this lecture and a couple other ones kind of reminded me about how I felt about that question. I was a fan of lecture 20 about self-control, and the author talks a lot about the marshmallow test, but also things beyond what the test is and just its validity and how stupendous its impact on modern psychology may be. Not to disregard those, but the marshmallow test. If you don't know about the marshmallow test is where you get a marshmallow gun and you get a picture of your least favorite teacher from elementary school, and you get another picture of your second least favorite teacher from elementary school, and you tape them both next to each other on the wall, and you take 15 steps back, and you shoot each one of them for 1 minute and see how many more marshmallows one of them gets than the other. And no, that's not the marshmallow test. Chances are you could find out what the marshmallow test is. Like, everyone talks about the marshmallow test. It's like the 80-20 rule in these books. Everyone knows about it. If you don't know about it, chances are if you've gotten like 10 of the books in psychology, you definitely know about the marshmallow test so long as you've read or listened to them. In lectures 21 and 22, he talks about different personality disorders, from antisocial, borderline, histrionic, and narcissistic ones, that and anxiety, and distorted thinking disorder clusters of disorders. Disorder. Doesn't that noun disorder doesn't it make you want to clench your teeth? I really related to this one part in lecture 22. They go through life feeling alienated, watching from the sidelines as other people have social lives, friends, and romantic partners, but usually being afraid to jump into the game. Chapters like this make you think a little bit more about where we all should ideally draw the line between normal, natural problems that people have throughout their lives and what behaviors qualify as symptoms of a D word. I'll just say D word there. I don't want to say that D word ever again. Overall, I'd say this book gives you like some sort of a kaleidoscope of here. This is what makes up your personality. This is what experts have said about what tendencies can be seen in anyone and everyone. And it's just like impossible to listen to and not think about. Unfortunately, I think it's just an Audible exclusive. I don't review these often, but when I do, I am sure not to drink Dos Equis in the process. Quotes. People who think that the world is just are more likely to derogate and blame people for their personal misfortunes. We sometimes act out of habit even if it's not the optimal thing to do. Whenever you say yes I am or no I'm not, I bet that you act the opposite way a good deal too. Direction 1. The author says that in the end that many of the problems we have in life are fundamentally problems with the way that we think, feel, and behave. And that he's hopeful that what we learn from this book we can use to think about personality. Our personalities, each other's personalities. So if you would like to learn more about your personality and how to think about it in order to approach fundamental solutions to many of the problems you have in your life, well, this book's for you. Direction 2. If you have not checked out How the World Sees You by, what's that lady's name? Sally Hogshead. Check that book out. That book will say so many things about you that you did not know are even things. Why You Are Who You Are by Mark Leary and the Great Courses. There's a link in the description if you guys want to check it out and read the reviews. That and all the other books that I mentioned in this video if you want to check those out too. If there are any other books that you guys want me to check out and review, please let me know in the comments below. Also let me know if you checked out this book and you liked it. But hey, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, because people watch these videos all the way up to here, all the way up to this very point, and they don't subscribe, and I don't know why that is, but if you have subscribed and you want to turn it up just a notch and turn on that notification bell to receive a notification every time I drop a new video, that would mean the world to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You can find me everywhere, and I will see you then.